Insulin resistance is the principal cause behind almost every metabolic condition we are dealing with today in our healthcare industry. Obviously, diabetes type 2. You ever heard Alzheimer's called type 3 diabetes?
Yeah, actually.
We've known for a while it is an insulin resistance condition. Parkinson's is an insulin resistance condition. Most heart conditions, atherosclerosis, clogging of the arteries, all insulin resistance conditions. Lupus, many of the autoimmune conditions. Most cancers, there's a few types of cancers, excluding external factors like a radioactive, you're in Chernobyl, or you're exposed to toxins, right? Outside of some external exposure, any cancer that develops naturally in your body occurs because the programming in goes haywire. It's getting bad instructions, and so it's producing a bad cell. Those instructions are the RNA coming out of the mitochondria. The mitochondria are what get damaged and spit out this bad information. The damaged RNA is the problem, and the damaged RNA is due to insulin resistance.
It still hits, I don't miss it. It's go, 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 like a go, go flow. And I'm almost done, and I told you so. When I throw these flows like it's Rochambeau, and I ain't too close, it's Joe Smoke goes. And I'm on my grind, that is all the time. I do not do breaks, that's right, I stay in dry. And look, I'm back with a little bit of that, a little more cash than it came with. Ready, that cat is out that bag, but I still ask you, the boy got skills. I don't need her, I don't need him, I don't need help with me, I got this. I can sing songs, I can spit raps, and I can do both, and even do this, word.
Jason Shugart, welcome to the On the Stacks podcast.
Good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
So, Chief Science Officer sounds complicated.
If you're not into science.
I feel like I've always been into science. I was never good at it, though. Do you hear that a lot?
Well, yeah, it's the interest of it's wishing to understand things and wanting to understand things versus the ability to be able to do so.
Yes. Okay. That's
kind of like high level math, except nobody's really interested in looking at calculus and understanding it. Whereas nature and the world around us is naturally intriguing to anyone who has curiosity.
Yeah. So yeah, I've always been curious about like just science in general, like really any type of science, and especially now that we have at home we have a 4-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, and our 4-year-old, I forget, I think he not that we were calling it like a science project, but almost kind of sort of like he started we got him it was something after his birthday recently where he got this little project, and he's starting to show some interest in stuff like that. And it started making me think again just recently, about science. And when I was growing up as a kid, I always just was interested, as you said, I never excelled in it. Believe me, I'm not trying to, but I was just always very interested in kind of just seeing and observing, or just the curiosity of it, but not actually, I'll say, practicing it. I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah. Did you say 4.5?
4 and 1.5.
Has the 4-year-old hit the stage yet where it's the child's aware that you're not aware of things?
I don't know. I don't think so. Can you explain it more?
Yeah. Between 4 and 5 is typically when it happens, but 4 to 6 is a standard range. It's when the child first becomes aware that people know different things. There's a test that was done. I forget if it was Stanford or somebody, but they did a bunch of studies with these children. And it's just like object permanence, right? Infants at a certain age, object permanence is a thing. And then that goes away usually before 3 to 4. And then there's this other phase where they get to where, and the test that they do is they have 2 little boxes in the room and 2 little dolls, like a Bill and a Sue. And Sue comes in, and Sue puts her quarter in her box.
Sue's my mom's name, by the way, so I love this. This is great. This is amazing. This is great.
Okay, so Sue puts her quarter in her box and then leaves the room. And then Bill takes the quarter out and puts it in his box, and then Bill leaves the room, right? And the adult is telling this story to the child. And then the adult says, now Sue comes back. Where's Sue going to look for her quarter? Before they hit this milestone, the child will point to the Bill's box, because it's Bill's box and they know it's in Bill's box, so everyone must know it's in Bill's box. The child that's hit that milestone will do something like, hey, she's going to look over here, and they'll get this sneaky, or because then they know there's a trick being played. Not everyone has the same understanding. That's when deception starts. That's when they start pulling fibs and trying to get away with stuff. So
Okay, yeah, he's there then. He's there. Yeah, I think maybe I just didn't understand it, right? Like, like I mean, like I did, but like I'm the type of person like I need to hear an example. But yes, he is like he's starting to do a thing where it's like he tries to play games. Like he's like, oh, is it over here? Is it over here? And he's already starting to like like he's literally doing that. Like I mean, I'm talking like as of like
is he still telling him on himself? Or is he,
uh
because there's the middle phase is they'll try to trick you, but then they out themselves. They're not quite there yet.
yeah, yeah, some days he does, some days he doesn't, like some days he will tell on himself and be like, "Oh, which is it?" And then he'll tell you which one it is, but then other days he doesn't. Like some days he gets it, some days he doesn't.
That's the brain right now is evolving that skill.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I ever knew that was like an actual thing, but interesting. Yeah, that's yeah, see, like this is like this is what I like about science. Like there's just things that like I feel like are probably very obvious, but I guess we don't, maybe it's not something that we talk about every day in all of our everyday lives. And when we do, like when things are brought, to your attention or your conscious, like it's like, oh, okay, yeah, like this stuff, this is what happens. Like, this is like life, it's just, but this stuff, it just fascinates me. So,
Well, I have a great one for you there and it applies to the foods. We're kind of jumping ahead as to why these foods work and how we develop them. But let's talk about the calorie.
anyone actually even knows what I don't even know what a calorie is.
Well, that's the irony of it. You ever heard the stories about how, like, back in the day, they thought germs and viruses were like from the ether? Right? You ever hear those stories? Like, they were these crazy, just made up theories because they didn't have anything better.
Yep.
And while there are a bunch of other ones we could talk about, the calorie is another one of those units. I like to say the calorie, as it is used in foods, is the most useless unit in science on the planet Earth today. It is utterly idiotic. First, let's start with, the unit calorie is measured by something called a bomb calorimeter. And what you do is you put the stuff in, whether it's fat, protein, carbohydrates, they burn it in fire. The amount of energy that is produced heats water. And then the amount of temperature rise in the water indicates how much energy is converted to thermal energy. First of all, it's not how the body works at all, but there's a better analogy to break it down to realize just how idiotic our current system is. Let's say we want to determine what fuels are good for a car. So we're going to take fat, oil basically, but we're going to use animal fat. We're going to use gasoline, and we're going to use wood. And now we're going to burn those things in a fire and measure how much that fire heats up the water. And then we're going to say that's how many miles our car is going to go. It's so insane. Like they don't match up. They're not the same compounds, right? The fats, carbohydrates, and sugars are technically different. Everybody lumps carbs and sugars together, but sugars have glucose and fructose. No carbs have fructose. And then proteins. Each of those four nutrient types are processed completely different in the body. They're actually more different than saying fat and oil and wood. It's a bigger difference than that. And the body is drastically more complicated than a car engine. So it's just the whole system of pretending that it's a useful measurement or that it means something to the body is the number one problem with our nutritional system.
That could be, I mean, there could be, we could go down like 25 rabbit holes with this one, but maybe we'll stick to the food here.
Yeah, there's the government aspects, the economic aspects of businesses, right? You want to sell more food and your jobs, right? There are there are a lot of other important variables, certainly. But yeah, as far as measuring nutrition or using the calorie as a way to properly determine, how you're fueling your body, that's where it becomes problematic. And then you tie that into the calorie in, calorie out method, which is the oversimplified principle of burn more than you take in. But what they never mention when they talk about it, there's a bunch of other things too, but the main one is when you go on a calorie restriction diet, say your normal calories are 2,000, you lower to 1,500 tomorrow. Within 3 days, sometimes within 48 hours, but generally within 72 hours, your body's going to start downregulating your metabolism. It's going to say, okay, I'm getting less nutrients, I'm going to downregulate. Okay, let's say you do that for just a couple weeks, couple months, whatever, right? The longer you do it, the longer it downregulates. But here's the catch. Even if you only do it for a week, right? So you go on a calorie restriction for 1 week, right? Only half of that time did it start to downregulate. Still going to take you a few weeks to a few months, depending on your current metabolic health level, for it to upregulate again. That's why anyone that does a calorie in, calorie out diet, right? They always say, oh, I put on 5 or 10 pounds at the end. I added more weight at the end. It's because it takes weeks or months for your body to back up regulate every single time you do it. That's why, fasting and what we tied our snacks to and our fasting protocols with the other consulting company, depriving the body of nutrients puts the body in a different metabolic state. It puts you in a ketone metabolism. It puts the body into ketosis. So your glucose metabolism isn't downregulating when you're in ketosis or when you're fasting. The downregulation problem only occurs with your glucose metabolism, which you're always in. If you're eating every 24 to 36 hours, you're not really getting your body into a ketone state or a ketosis state.
I think everyone knows the word keto, right? But I feel like, there's a lot that maybe people don't understand about ketosis.
There's two primary fuel systems for the body. First is glucose metabolism. That is the main system that we work on, right? That is your fight or flight response system. That is what I like to call dirty fuel. It's like diesel, right? You don't need a spark plug in a diesel engine, right? It's going to go if you just turn it over. That's what glucose is to the body. It's the ready to go fuel, but it's dirty and you've got a lot of byproducts with your glucose metabolism. And ketones are more like an electric fuel. They're much cleaner. Most of the cells of the body, except a few cells in the brain, prefer ketones for energy over glucose. So the body likes to be in that state, and most of the cells of the body prefer those. The reason your liver is capable of something called gluconeogenesis is because it can spontaneously produce glucose for those few cells in the brain that must have it. But otherwise, and that's why people can fast for weeks on end and do it healthy. So what happens with ketones is, and I won't get too into the metabolic physiology here, but basically fats get broken down into something called ketone bodies. And then those ketones are processed for energy instead of glucose. And there's always this transition phase. For most people that try fasting, that is the hardest part. That's in large part why we designed these products, because you can't really get your body into a good ketosis state. We like to say above 3.0 is where you're really getting into a good ketosis state. Most people, your average resting ketones will be 0.1 to 0.3 usually is the high end. And most people that do a keto diet, they usually don't get much above 1.0, maybe 2.0. So they're not really getting the body into that deep ketosis state. And so the snack products are to help with that phase change where the body's shifting from glucose to ketosis, or from glucose to ketones, I should say, for energy. And when your body's never been in that state, especially like a lot of our clients are 50, 60, 70 years old when they're starting, their body's never been in a ketosis state in their entire lives. So the snacks really help people get through that. In addition to that, I mean, that's how they came about. It turned out they ended up being healthier than we realized they would be and tasting much better than they realized. That's the only reason we've gone mainstream with them. They were only originally intended for our clients.
So it was more of just like an in-house, like, hey, this is just, I don't want to use the word treat, right? But like, this is just like our plan. Like, this is like what we're using here in-house, and ended up just tasting good and better. And it's like, oh, hey, maybe we could actually like sell this thing to people.
It's even funnier than that, because the way it actually started was our program involves extended fasting, which we'd need to do a different episode on. But it basically means fasting beyond 48 hours and water, coffee, tea only. No sweeteners, no nothing. And what happens is on day 3 to day 5 of a fast, your tongue gets dehydrated, it gets very chalky, and it's just a very crap taste in your mouth. And you can brush your teeth, and you can do other things. When I started developing that program, I was testing every different type of food and food product, and testing my blood glucose and ketones to see how it would affect things. And a white Tic Tac, right? Measure my glucose, put the white Tic Tac in my mouth for 30 seconds just to get the crap taste out of my mouth. Spit the Tic Tac out. Measure my glucose, spiked at 30 points. Crash my ketones at least 1 to 2 points. So like, I just, this isn't going to work. So it originally started, I called my friend who's been a chef for years, and he does other things too, but he's a foodie. And I said, I want to make some sort of mint or something that I can put in my mouth and get this crap taste out of my mouth that doesn't spike my glucose. That's where it started. And then, so we developed these mint products, and then these Egger products, and then these Jello-like products, and then these marshmallow products, and then crisps and chips, and all the cookies are like the 8th product we've developed.
Now we arrived at cookie.
Yes.
So it started as just a replacement for a Tic Tac, essentially.
Basically, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and then so cookies were the first product we came out with. Cereal is going to be next.
I heard, yeah.
And then we don't know what's next after that, to be honest.
Josh told you too, but so when he, I know I probably wasn't supposed to do this, but they just tasted so good. When I first got these, you're probably gonna laugh, but I ate a whole bag, like the day that they came. I'm not kidding. I ate a whole bag. Like, I was just like, because here's the other thing, and I'll be completely honest, like, they're like the size of like a quarter, maybe, right? I have a bag here. This one's not open, but they're like maybe about the size of a quarter. A little thick, probably about this thick, right? But I think I was expecting them to be like a bigger, like, more of like I'll say like an average size cookie, size. So when they were this small, I thought, I was working, I was actually probably sitting here, right? I was working, and I opened them up. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to try them. Pop one in my mouth. And, because they're so small, you just like pop them, right? They're just easy to, And I was like, wow. And they were soft. Like, I was expecting like I was expecting a crunch. And when I popped it out, I'm like, oh my God, like this thing was like soft, and it was really good. And I was like, gotta have another one. And then I'm working. I'm like, that was good. Have another one. And like, I wasn't counting. I didn't know how many were in the bag, and I wasn't counting how many I was eating. And then I was like 3/4 of the way through the bag, and then I looked at the bag, and I was like, well, you know what? I'm just gonna eat the rest. I mean, I'm already, what's a couple more, right?
Well, as far as the crunch, you will get a little bit of crunch with the chocolate chip. Some people really prefer the soft. Some people have said they prefer the crunch. We'll have both versions. There'll eventually be a cinnamon one with a crunch too. But what we recommend for people, especially if you're using them as not just a healthier snack, right? If you're using them for any sort of dietary control or trying to go longer between meals, anything like that, What we recommend is have 2 or 3 cookies and a glass of water. And then you wait 10 minutes. And like if you have a hunger pain hit you, just have 2 or 3 of them and a full glass of water. It'll be gone in 10 minutes.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Not that I needed instructions, but those were great instructions. Now I know. I'll have to try that next time.
And that way it stretches the bags out a little longer too, if that's a goal. Obviously, we don't mind if you want to eat the whole bag.
Yeah, they were just so good. I was just like, man, I know it really probably wasn't intended for somebody like me to just sit here and eat a whole bag of them, but like I said, they were bite sized, and I was just like, well, I'm just like, screw it, I'm just gonna eat the whole bag.
Yeah, and that's another good point, because if you look at the ingredients, right? If you take that bag to a doctor and say, I'm going to eat a bag of these every day, they're going to look at the fat content and say, oh, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. I did, it's funny, before I think we were talking about the calorie, I just had the bag in my hand and I was looking at the back, and I guess I never really paid attention to the actual number, actual numbers. And as you were explaining calorie stuff, I was kind of glancing down. I did have, I noticed. And again, me thinking of, to your point, I'm curious to hear the story, but to your point of eat the whole bag, and so you look at it and see how much fat it is if you ate the whole bag. And right before I told the story, I'm thinking to myself oh my God, I ate the whole bag,
Yes. That gets back to the physiology gets so, and metabolism gets so complicated, right? Because there's so many interconnected systems. They're always counteracting each other, right? Some things are trying to raise glucose, other things are trying to lower glucose. And then there's 20 hormones that are affecting those things underneath. And then there's different things affecting those, right? So it's an incredibly complex web. So everything I'm saying here is drastically oversimplified. Always keep that in mind.
Yeah, for sure.
After I tried everything, before I developed this program, I hit a peak weight of 260 something. I was sitting at a computer typing and I could hear myself wheezing. Now I'm 6 foot. My base weight is about 200 pounds. I'm, what they call larger framed. But I just had enough. And I said, okay, it was 2021. It's right after the pandemic. Everything was crazy. And I just decided I'm going to dig into the research and figure out why I'm just always putting on weight. I'd done the 6 meals a day. I'd tried all the different things and doing my scientific, analysis. Everything I tried, nothing worked. And I was doing things that were so dumb. I would get on a treadmill or elliptical or exercise for 4 hours. So let's say I have one piece of chocolate before I would start, thinking, I'll just have this little bit of extra energy. Well, what I never understood was the minute you trigger insulin in your body, right? And that's why we design these foods to not register a glucose spike, so they don't register an insulin spike, so the body doesn't recognize them as a nutrient. That's the key. So if your insulin is elevated, then your body receives the signal, nutrients incoming. Prepare all the storage mechanisms, right? Yes, all the valves are going one way, into the warehouse, right? Into the storage tanks, into the fat cells. There's no burning fat when your insulin is elevated. If you eat some food, you could run on that treadmill for 6 hours straight. As long as your insulin's elevated, you are not burning any fat. You're only burning off the glucose that you have in your body that day. You will not burn any fat stores. So if you don't understand that switch is an on-off switch, well, right there, you're doomed. And that's something that isn't it should be just basic understanding by the time we're 6, But even that most diabetics we talk to don't fully understand that that's a switch. So if you eat a meal and then you eat a whole bag of those cookies, well, then, yeah, there's going to be some extra fat content that you get from those cookies. Your body's not going to absorb all of it. You'd have to eat a lot of them to actually put on weight because they're healthy saturated fats. But that's not the ideal time to eat our products. ideal time to truly take advantage of the scientific benefits of our products if you eat them outside of a 4-hour eating window. So if you ate at noon, you would eat our snacks anytime after 4 or 5 o'clock. And then so whenever your insulin's low, then you're eating these foods and your body does not recognize you're eating foods. You're staying in the ketone switch, right? So insulin high, insulin low, ketones on, ketones off. That's the way to think of it. Or glucose, right? Glucose on, glucose off. So you want to get your body in the ketone state, right? That's what lowers your insulin resistance, right? Insulin resistance is the principal cause behind almost every metabolic condition we are dealing with today in our healthcare industry. Right? Obviously, diabetes type 2. You ever heard Alzheimer's called type 3 diabetes?
Yeah, actually.
Because we've known for a while it is an insulin resistance condition. Well, guess what? Parkinson's is an insulin resistance condition. Okay? Most heart conditions, atherosclerosis, clogging of the arteries, all insulin resistance conditions. Lupus, many of the autoimmune conditions. Most cancers, there's a few types of cancers, right? Well, excluding external factors like a radioactive, you're in Chernobyl, or you're exposed to toxins, right? Outside of some external exposure, any cancer that develops naturally in your body occurs because the programming in the cell goes haywire, right? It's getting bad instructions, and so it's producing a bad cell. Those instructions are the RNA coming out of the mitochondria. The mitochondria are what get damaged and spit out this bad information. All the stuff you've heard over the decades about antioxidants, taking antioxidants, oxidants cause free radicals, damage mitochondria, right? There's a lot of truth to that. But the damaged mitochondria, like trying to fix the antioxidants, is like putting up fans to get the smoke out of the room when there's a raging inferno. It's not what you're not addressing the right problem. The antioxidants aren't the problem. The damaged RNA is the problem. And the damaged RNA is due to insulin resistance. So your insulin resistance builds up over time, and it's basically puts sand in the gears, right? And so then that sand, your body, my body, let's say we both have monochromatic twins. So they are identical DNA in every way. Even our monochromatic twin, we're going to have different wives, different children, maybe different jobs, different friends, different stresses, maybe different personalities, right? There's still going to be a lot of differences between the two of us. So let's say we eat the exact same foods every day at every same time. Our insulin resistance develops at the same speed. Well, it still may manifest first for me. Maybe it's in my liver, or maybe it's in my kidneys, or maybe it's in my pancreas, or maybe it's in my arteries, or maybe it's in my brain. Whereas my twin, it's manifesting somewhere else first. That's why I understand why the medical community struggles so hard with understanding it, because all of these things that seem unconnected actually all come back to sand in the gears caused by insulin resistance. And so it's far more about when we eat than what we eat, because I can eat my Haagen-Dazs or my Lindor chocolates, or I love dark chocolate, and not much for other sweets or cakes or that kind of stuff, but good dark chocolate, I'm an addict. I will eat that stuff during my feeding periods, and then I just go long feeding periods without, and that insulin resistance can't build up in my body to then manifest into those metabolic conditions. Now, granted, I've only been doing this for 4 years, but 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, I'll be able to show it with myself. And I'm not the only one that's done this. There's a clinic in Germany that's been doing these extended fasting protocols for like 100 years. I mean, theirs is different than what we do. but it's not like it's new science. And right, the reason every religion has fasting, we've understood this throughout history. Aristotle it's documented that Aristotle required his students to fast the day before exams because the mind was clearer, is the way they explained it back then. The word autophagy is self-eating in Greek. It comes from ancient Greece. So they knew way back then, if you put your body into this what we call the fasted state versus feeding state, the on switch off switch, when your body's in the fasted state, body can enter this place of autophagy, which do you know that word?
Just vaguely.
Okay, yeah. It's used a lot currently. It's not used properly most of the time. There's 3 different types. It's still very new science. We don't fully understand it. Let's start there. The current best breakdown I'm aware of is microautophagy, macroautophagy, and then chaperone-mediated autophagy. The first 2 are kind of going on most of the time. The chaperone-mediated autophagy is the one that actually does the deep repair. That's the one that will go in and say, oh, this cancer cell is defective. I'm going to tear it down for parts and bring in stem cells and put a new cell here. It will find damaged mitochondria that are spitting out bad RNA that is producing a cancer cell. And it will strip down that mitochondria for parts and build a new one. Because when the body goes scavenging in this process, it goes scavenging for amino acids. And this is another misnomer in medicine, right? Every doctor is trained in Western medicine, and you've heard it your whole life. If you don't eat for 72 hours, your body will start breaking down muscle and you'll lose muscle mass, right? Everybody says it. It's just accepted as fact. It would be more accurate to say that the Earth is the center of the solar system and the sun is going around it. It's just utter rubbish. It's complete nonsense. Because think of it this way. I like to use wolves, right? There's a wolf pack. They haven't been able to eat for 3 weeks. If a wolf starts losing muscle tissue when it's hungry, the one thing that is most important to help it get food, that organism isn't surviving. That is true across all mammals, all animals, all birds, all insects, all plants, all fungus, all Archimedia. Right? There's no level of organism of life that isn't the case. If the organism becomes too hungry and the important functions start breaking down, it's not going to make it. So the truth is, if you look at the studies that are actually done properly, where they identify the correct variables, they understand the experiment they're actually doing, and then they don't botch the cause and effect analysis, which is where most of them fail. But I mean, not to sidetrack here, but the research is so bad. There's studies out there that you can read about fasting where they'll talk about how this fasting didn't work or it didn't have any success or the control group lost more weight. And then you read what they were giving them. And I'm not kidding you. There are multiple fasting studies where the fasted patients were given IV bags that had glucose in them. So it's the same thing as feeding them. Giving them glucose, you're jacking the insulin up, you're keeping them in a fed state. Of course it's worse than the people that were eating in the control group, you moron. But this is literally peer-reviewed scientific journal articles that are that incompetent. That's more than half of them. Now, how much of it's paid for BS and how much of it is just incompetence, I don't know, but either way, it's just junk science.
But I'm very fascinated though by this, the cancer part to this.
Yeah, there's a doctor, I just forget his name. He's out in California. He's been studying a bunch of different types of cancer cells and can they survive the chaperone-mediated autophagy process. So far, he has not found any that will survive the process. There are clinics that have been using these techniques to shrink tumors. I can't say a lot about many of them because they don't publish enough of the information for me to properly evaluate them. But there's certainly ones I have seen where they've done the scans before and after. They've described the protocol, and I believe they have demonstrated without question that that's the case. So it's not just this one guy. You can find research. I think even, I haven't checked lately with AI, but I think even AI now, if you type in, can chaperone-mediated autophagy cure cancer or remove tumors, something like that, it'll tell you, it'll find places where it knows that. Now, not everything we're talking about here does it get right yet. There's still some of this, because there's so much bad information out there about calories and some of these other things, it still pulls too much of that bad info. But if you question it a little bit, or you point things out, like if you say, well, is a calorie a really good measurement for a human? It'll say, well, no, that doesn't really make any sense at all.
Yeah, well, now that we think about it, but yeah, and now that we're talking about it, yeah.
I like to do just the AI. I don't know how much you use AI, but
all day. I already pulled it up as you were saying, as I have it up on my other screen over here right now.
First 5 words: no hallucinations, exam, not essay. And then you'll get a much cleaner answer, because it knows if you say, do you know what no hallucination means? And then you'll be very surprised by the response. Did you know that one?
No.
Yeah. And then exam, not essay. It will give you a more concise, exam answer, instead of explaining everything that you just told it. Right? Let's explain it all back. It's like, I just told you that. Quit explaining to me what I told you. Answer my question.
Yeah, I've experienced that, but just in a different way. Yes.
But yeah, what it does is, it's not really understood. At least no research I've seen I don't think humans fully understand yet exactly how it's selecting which amino acids to get and when. So for example, I have atherosclerosis. I have Alzheimer's, plaques in my brains, plaques in my blood, right? And then I have just a skin condition that's caused by insulin resistance. Actually, no, sorry. Let's do the brain, or the plaques in the blood, the plaques in the brain, and then a cancer, a tumor. So all of those are extra amino acids the body doesn't need. Okay, and I'm going to add one more in there, right? As people lose a lot of weight, right? When you do calorie in, calorie out, like Biggest Loser, they have all that skin hanging off, right? Because the body isn't being put in a state where it can recycle all that.
That makes sense. That makes total sense. Yeah.
Like as you were to get fat, right? As the fat cell gets larger, it sends out signals to blood vessels nearby. Hey, I need some more blood. Blood vessels, literally through angiogenesis, literally grow to it, and nerves grow to it. And then fibrous tissue grows around, right? The structure, the skin, all of the stuff that holds it. It's all based on collagen and amino acids, proteins. So when you go through the fasting process and you put your body into chaperone-mediated autophagy, so let's say you're a 300-pound person who's down to 200 pounds, and you get your body into this chaperone-mediated autophagy zone. And you have the brain plaques, the heart plaques, and the tumor, and the extra skin weight, right? It's all extra amino acids. Is it going after the tumor first, right? Is it going after the mitochondria first that's causing the tumor? Is it going after the heart plaque or the brain plaque first? No one has any idea. We don't know the in-between.
The rhyme or reason. Yeah.
Yeah. All we know is that the body senses this DNA is off, right? That's where if it's a genetic condition, like the Down syndrome, right? One letter's off. You could put yourself in chaperone-mediated autophagy for 100 years. It's not going to fix DNA. But as long as it isn't a DNA condition, if it is any sort of metabolic condition that developed after you were born,
it could be repaired.
Yes.
I get it now. Yeah, not that I didn't before, but like that is like, if anyone's listening, like that's the light bulb right there.
Yes. And the latest research a lot of people are focused on in this area is actually demonstrating, and I can't verify this, but there are people that are claiming it. They have shown the lengthening of telomeres, right? Telomeres are what determine your lifespan and how fast your cells break down.
Mm-hmm.
They claim they have shown the lengthening of telomeres through chaperone-mediated autophagy. So, and we personally believe that to be true too. That's why we call the health program is a repair and longevity program. The weight loss is a side effect, is what we say.
Yeah. So this is kind of like, I feel like we've gone down this rabbit hole, but I'm okay with it if you're okay with it. But this, like the cancer thing. So, like how much do you like? I know we're talking about like cookies right now. We're talking about our cancer, right? But it's all related to back to the technology. I'll say the science, right? So, my point is I want to ask you like how much. It seems like you know quite a bit about the science behind like this, when it comes to cancer. I mean, like is that would that be a fair statement to say? It seems like you.
Yes and no.
Okay.
There are. I mean, from a basic metabolic physiology, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have mitochondria in a cell. If you take a cell, right, and let's just do a single-celled organism. Let's not even talk about humans. Just a single-celled organism. If that cell has a mitochondria, and that mitochondria becomes damaged, well, that is the control center, right? That's where all of the instructions are coming out of.
Yep.
Now, some of those instructions are how to grow, right? Some of them are how to operate. Some of them are what to clean up, right? Some of them are when to open valves and when to close them, right? There's all different instructions that come out of those mitochondria. That's why cancers are so different, right? Why are some benign? Why are some malignant? Why are they different types? Well, it's depend on what goes wrong in those instructions coming out. So that's where it gets very complex. There's so many different types and ways that specifically a cancer can develop. But at the higher level, all cancers in the body, even if it's external, right? If you walk into Chernobyl, the reason you're going to get cancer is because those radio waves damaged your mitochondria or your RNA or your DNA, right? It damaged those instructions in the cell that starts the cancer. So either way, that is the root of cancer, is instructions going bad. So it's like,
why do instructions go bad, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's put the Chernobyl thing aside. I mean, that's very obvious, right? Or like the easiest. I mean, that's very, very simple. So, okay. So, but the other side, like why, why?
Yeah. And the primary reason instructions go bad is dysfunction or malfunction in the cell.
Okay. So, and back to your point, that if it's not a DNA thing, right? Are you getting back to that? Is that what we're saying? If it's not a DNA thing, or am I off track here?
Yeah, no, you're. I think so. What we're saying is, why does the mitochondria start spitting out bad instructions?
Right. Yeah. Meaning, like, if the DNA is good, like if it's not like a genetic thing, right? Am I talking the right language?
Yes.
Right. So if it's not that, because I want to put that aside. If it's a bad, I don't want to use the wrong word. If it's or something goes wrong, right? That causes it. Like in the RNA, right?
Say it this way: when the mitochondria is damaged.
Yes. Yes. Right. Okay. So that's what I want to talk about for a second. So like when the mitochondria is damaged, like what could be a cause? Like, can you give me what could be a cause of that the damage that then turns to or forms cancer?
The primary cause from most of the research I can find, if not almost all, is insulin resistance.
Can you break it down a little further?
Yeah, when you're okay. I'm going to use the warehouse analogy where we can bring stuff in, unload trucks, or we can load trucks to take out. We can't unload and load at the same time. Okay. So we have a warehouse and the loading, right? The truck coming in, the loading is insulin high, right? That's glucose metabolism. Okay. So we have trucks coming in every day because we're not managing when we eat properly.
Yeah, so it's not what we eat, it's when we eat.
Yeah.
Right?
So the trucks are coming in every day. Just warehouses piling up. It's becoming very disorganized. It's not being kept clean. There's no time to clean stuff out. There's no time to organize, right? It becomes a mess and dysfunction starts to happen within the warehouse. The more you can have a regular cycle where, okay, we have stuff coming in, we're going to unload. Okay, then we're going to have this long period of no trucks coming in. We're going to ship stuff out. We're going to clean up the warehouse. We're going to get rid of the debris. We're going to clean up the oily rags and the fire hazards, right? We're just going to keep everything organized.
A nice regular cycle.
Yes, that's our problem.
Because we don't have a regular cycle.
Yes, we are keeping our bodies in fed state all the time.
How do we fix that? And give me before that, what does a fed state all the time look like?
It just means that your insulin levels are you're not allowing them to return to baseline for any more than a few hours a day.
And how would that happen? Meaning like if I'm maybe eating chips and cookies multiple times throughout the day or something like that. I'm just trying to think of a simple way to understand it.
For the most people, 6 hours is kind of the high end. 4 hours would be the low end. So I'm just going to say 5.
Okay.
But again, this is all bell curves, right? Depending on the physiology, right? Your physiology may change depending on the current state you're in. So your bell curve can shift, all of that. But, okay. Sorry, what was your question again?
Okay. So being in a fed state,
oh yeah.
So being in a fed state, what does that look like? How is that? What does that look like? Being in a fed state, all the time.
Okay. So if we take that 5 hour as the average, so if you eat at noon, it's going to take 5 hours for your insulin levels to return to baseline. So if you eat at any point within that 5 hours, you're never going to see baseline.
So you shouldn't eat for that. Assuming that yours is 5 hours, right? You basically need to wait the 5 hours. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no. And that would just get you to baseline.
That's the opposite. It's the opposite.
No, it's not the opposite. You have to go longer than that. I'm saying, okay, so you're going to spike your insulin up here.
I see. I get
it. It takes 5 hours to get back down to 0.
Yes.
You want to be at 0 at least 12 to 16 hours a day.
I see.
That's what we're not doing.
Okay.
We're doing the opposite. We're having our bodies at baseline. If you don't eat past 8 o'clock, right? And so then maybe by midnight to 1, you're getting to baseline. You don't get up till 8 in the morning. You might get 6 hours of baseline. That is not enough for any of us.
I see. Okay. The longer the baseline, the better.
Yes.
Okay.
And so just taking that example, right? You're only getting 6 hours a day to clean up the warehouse, and 18 hours a day you're bringing shit in.
It's just chaos. It's chaos, and it's causing problems.
Yes.
Because it's overworking, and there's no break. There's no break to clean up.
Yes, and where the damage is occurring is all the little piles of paper and the little oily rags, and fires start.
There's collecting and gathering and.
Yes, that's the debris that's building up in the cell when it doesn't have enough time to clean out the crap from the dirty diesel glucose metabolism that you're always keeping your cells in.
Again, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That debris builds up, and that's where all the stuff you read about where cleaning out the toxins, and I mean most of it's junk science, but I should say most of those products don't do what they claim to do.
Sure.
But the point they're addressing is accurate. The cells are collecting too much garbage they can't clean out properly, and that results in increased oxidation, and that results in damage to the cells and this what I call sand in the gears.
Yep.
Because there's there's literally
a really good example, by the way.
Probably,
I like that.
Probably 150 things that can go wrong in a cell. So it's like it's like imagine 150 gears, and one sand kernel in between any two of them can start a disruption.
Just jacks it up. Yep.
Yeah. Well, over time, the more insulin resistance you have, the more drops of sand are falling in there. The more things that can go wrong, the more different cancers can develop, the more metabolic conditions you can have. That's where it's all going wrong at that cellular level. We are not allowing the cells to maintain healthy function.
I get it. Wow. I don't think I mean, I don't know. This is like, let's say like new to me, but like kind of sort of like, I mean, I guess.
Unfortunately, it's new to most of the medical community in Western medicine.
Yeah. Just, I mean, it, obviously like now that you explained it, I mean, it took me obviously a little back and forth there to fully get it, but like it makes total sense. I mean, it seems like almost common sense. But
yeah, it's weird.
But yeah, I mean, this is like really wild to think about. Wow.
Yeah, one of my favorite ones who's had that kind of aha moment is Dr. Fung, F-U-N-G. He was a practicing nephrologist for over a decade, and that's a kidney specialist. And by the time you get to a nephrologist, you're pretty much already hardcore
done.
diabetic. Yeah. It's bad.
Yeah.
And so it was, I forget how long, but I'm pretty sure it was over a decade. He was prescribing insulin to his patients. Okay. And I think I got this, it's similar. I don't say it the same way he does, but I think I got this line from him. Giving insulin to a diabetic and pretending that's going to help them is exactly the same as you telling me you're an alcoholic and I force you to drink alcohol every single day.
Yeah, it's like gasoline on the fire, right? That's good for it, right? Yeah.
Yes. It's utter insanity. And he realized, like, he had this revelation one day where he's like, my patients never get better. Like, what am I doing here? Like, this can't be how it works. Like, he had this aha moment, like something's not right. And he started looking into it. He started messing with diet and started changing things with his patients, and he started seeing results. And now I think it's been almost 8 to 10 years that he focuses more on intermittent fasting protocols, more of the short term. I don't agree with a lot of the stuff he says on the extended fasting and the longer term stuff. He's still, I feel like, stuck a little bit more in the Western medicine side, that area. But as far as the understanding insulin resistance, understanding that it is the root cause of all of our metabolic conditions, understanding why that is the dysfunction and disruption occurs in the cells, he's pretty good on that. And then there's a few other ones out there too that understand this. So, but he talks about how he had to leave his medical practice because it's against standard of care to treat these people the proper way.
Wow.
The standard of care is to jack them up with insulin.
Yeah, they keep coming back.
Yeah, and it's not just the medical community, right? It's the insurance companies, it's the lawyers, it's the whole system that we.
It's the whole cycle, the whole table. Everyone at the table.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And everyone's hungry.
Yeah, that is so true.
Yeah. Wow.
My
mind is kind of like blown today.
Yeah, the hungry part is okay. The problem is the links they'll go to appease their hunger and the harm they'll cause to others to do so.
Right.
That's where the problem comes in.
For sure. Yeah. Wow. You really made me think today.
Good.
Wow. Fascinating. I feel like I could talk to you about this like all day long.
Well, did you have any more questions?
Yeah, no, this is it. Thanks for joining me. Goodbye. Yeah, no, wow. Oh my gosh.
I mean, there's so many things I could tell you about, but like really the number one thing, if I could tell people the number one thing that we're not taught correctly is it's so much more about when. Like our program, nobody cuts out any of their favorite foods. There's no well, I shouldn't say that. Like when it comes to certain like oils, right? We recommend olive oil, coconut oil, saffron oil, and avocado oil, right? Those 4 are good. Most of the rest of them aren't. The hydrogenated, most of they do some toxic things to the body. So there's certain food types we try to discourage. But at the same time, you're not getting your Ben and Jerry's without a bunch of fat in there. But when you're managing the when properly, you can eat that crap and your body will clean it out just fine.
So what's a good schedule? Like, what would a good schedule look like?
For whom? Are you severely overweight, pre-diabetic?
I'm not.
Okay,
but I'm just
healthy?
Curious. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, for someone like you who's healthy, how much do you exercise?
Not too much.
Okay, no, that's fine. Well, you want to know another irony? This is something else that's not taught correctly. There's a side note, another one to get you thinking. Okay, if you measured your glucose right now, and I had you run up 2 flights of stairs, or lift something quickly heavy, or if I just jumped around the corner and scared the shit out of you, right? Triggered a fight or flight response.
Yeah.
The hormones that release in a fight or flight response, or any of those events where it causes any sort of elevated breathing, it automatically kicks in the glucose metabolism. So if you're trying to lose weight and you trigger heavy breathing, you're actually shutting off the fat burning process because you're switching to a glucose metabolism. It's literally not even the most effective way to lose fat.
Counterproductive. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something that I always makes me laugh when it comes to research, to exercise. But back to you. If you're reasonably healthy, you don't exercise a lot, and do you have a preferred time of the day when you like to eat?
I'll say just like the standards as to like probably what most people like. I'm just going off like society standards. Like, first, maybe breakfast like in the morning when you get up. We'll say lunchtime and then dinner time, right? That's just like, I'll say like I follow that for the most part, but I feel like most people probably do. I think that's just what we're taught, right?
Yeah. Okay, so if you want to maintain 3 meals a day, then you'd want to eat breakfast as late as possible.
Okay.
And lunch won't really matter, and then you want to eat dinner as early as possible.
But still eat lunch.
Well, if you want to.
Okay.
An ideal, a better, like for someone like you who's reasonably healthy, reasonably young.
To be honest, I usually don't eat breakfast.
Well, that's what I was just going to say next. If you have any warning signs of health conditions starting, or if you know you need to improve your health, right? If you're puffy, right? Puffy is a real good indication of insulin resistance. If you're wanting to see improvement, then we would recommend at least an 18-6, right? So, just on an intermittent. So you would have a lunch, somewhere noon to 2, and then dinner sometimes 6 to 8.
Okay.
And then the rest of the time, you have coffee, water, tea, our snack products.
Yeah, there we go. You like that? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too. You have to be careful. Most stuff says keto friendly, keto safe.
Yeah, it's usually not.
I have yet to try one that actually is. So I don't think there's any standards there. I can't.
Yeah, I remember Josh telling me that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I would just tell people if you're serious about this, just $50 or $100, you can buy those meters.
Yeah. Yep.
Test them if you really want to know.
Yep.
But Yeah, so you get that 18-hour window because that first 6, not really much is going on, but then you get that next 12 of no insulin resistance, and that's where your stuff will start cleaning up, your insulin resistance will start lowering, and just a month or two of that, and you don't have to do it every day, right? You can have days off, maybe you do an 18-6 one day, which really is not doing much. If your feeding window's 18 hours, then it doesn't really matter if it's above 16, frankly. But yeah, skipping breakfast. The whole thing about breakfast being the most important meal of the day is actually wrong, because all you do, if you come through the night sleeping, if you get your body starting into ketosis, when you get up in the morning, you're going to be in a ketone state. You're going to be more alert.
Right.
Back to the wolves.
Yep.
Right. What actually happens, and they've done these studies, and the same thing with humans too, and most actually every prey animal. If you starve that organism for 4 weeks, the things that heighten are exactly the things that help it find food. And when I'm on like day 5, day 6, day 7 of a fast, and our clients too, you feel this heightened senses. You're more alert. Your eyesight is sharper. Your hearing is better. You feel like you're on
like
a caffeine high. Yeah. You're primed for hunting, because the brain is saying, okay, these social functions, these other things that you don't need as much, I'm turning these down because we need some food.
We need food. Yeah.
Right. That's how species survive. So and actually the research does show, I forgot to add this part earlier on the muscle loss. Real studies show you will have roughly 1 to 2% lean muscle mass gain after extended fasting, because the growth hormones and growth factors and other things, the levels that are reached, even at my age at 55 years old, the levels my body will reach with these hormones, some of them exceed what a fetus experiences in the womb while it's developing in the womb. Like, that's how high these hormone levels get when your body gets into that deep fasted state. So the repair is definitely there. And I lost where your first question was. We were talking about So skipping breakfast allows you to stay in that ketone state.
Right. Yeah.
All you do by eating breakfast is put yourself into glucose mode, and that's why you're going to have a crash. It's not about the caffeine crash people have; it's the glucose crash, because you put yourself back into glucose metabolism first thing in the morning.
Yeah, makes total sense.
If you wait and have lunch at till 2, and then you eat again at eat dinner at 6, like if you have a 4 to 5 hour feeding window, you'll see drastic changes in energy. Like we had one client who, and now we're mixing up here. Our clients are all extended fasting. We don't do intermittent fasting.
Yeah,
right. That's what FeastFast is about. That's a good product for intermittent fasters, but that's not what we coach. And anybody can do intermittent fasting. We do medically supervised, rigorous program.
Yeah.
So. I just lost it again.
The talking about the fasting, like you're with the clients and.
Oh yeah. We had one client who, he said he's a list guy, right? He his whole life, I think he was 63 or 64 last year when we had this conversation. He says, I've been a list guy my whole life. I'll make a list, make it, if I get lucky, I get a third of it done, half of it done, right? Carry it over to the next day. He's like, I've done that my whole life. He's like, I got my list done today. He's like, it's the first time this ever happened. Like, I got my whole list done, because he was on this caffeine high for hours, but it's not really a caffeine high. It's a ketone high. So it's even cleaner. It's more energetic. The brain is more alert. So yeah, it's hard. You won't really get there in an 18-hour fast. It does take longer to get to that elevated state, but you'll still, if you do a few days of the the 18-6, you'll definitely notice a difference in those morning periods. You'll have a lot more energy. You won't have any crashes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And the other thing to think about too, right? Evolutionarily wise, we weren't eating once a day,
Mm-hmm.
right? This whole 3 meals a day thing
Right, yeah.
is marketing.
Yeah.
There's no science or sense to it. It's straight marketing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Wow. Yeah, fascinating. My mind is blown today. I wasn't sure what to expect, and this was I really enjoyed this.
Well, I can tell you one more. If sticking to intermittent fasting, if you really want to push it, there's the 1 meal a day where you have a 1 hour feeding window.
Mm-hmm.
That's called OMAD. That's a standard one that's out there. That's a pretty good intermittent fasting program if you can do it. I would recommend doing your 1 meal a day sometime mid-afternoon to early evening so you can get the whole day on a ketone metabolism.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is 1 meal every other day. Now that one's much harder for beginners because the reason fasting is so hard for people is because in the first 24 hours, right, the first 8 hours, you're basically depleting the glucose from most of your cells in your body. Over the next 16 hours, you're depleting most of the glycogen stores in your liver. So for most people, after about 24 to 30 hours, you've depleted your glucose. Now, you know how people always talk about when you eat salt and that causes you to retain water?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did you know sugar causes you to retain 10% more water than salt does?
I did not know that.
Yeah, no one ever does.
Wow.
Even scientists and nutritionists I talk to, no one seems to understand that. Glucose holds 10% more water than salt.
Wow.
So when you drop all that glucose in day one, if you've ever tried fasting, you get a headache. You feel like a hangover. You don't feel good. You feel lethargic. You feel tired.
That's from not having the sugar, right? Like that's the.
But it's not because it's not from the sugar. It's because when you're losing the sugar, your pH is changing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So your body's not holding on to as much water. So you are literally dehydrating your body.
Oh, I see.
By manipulating your pH, and it's the same dehydration mechanism that if you drank alcohol and were hungover. That's why it feels that same way.
Whoa. Yeah, because I've experienced that, but never really understood.
Yeah. All you do is take salt on day one. Every time you drink lots of water, but you have to take salt to keep your pH up.
Okay.
Then you don't get the headaches. Then you can get through day one much easier. Mm-hmm. Then the only tricky part is learning to handle that shift from glucose to ketones, and that shift is never really. I don't want to say it's hard, but it's. I don't know what the right word is. Challenging for some of our clients.
Yeah.
Some
sure.
people.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. This is all right. So we'll end here because I kind of want you to say it again.
Okay.
I don't want. I'm pretty sure I got it right, but so it's when, not what.
Well, I don't want to say it's far more when than what.
Right. Okay.
Because there are things we put in our bodies that are not good, right? There's some of the chemicals that we're ingesting we shouldn't be.
Yes.
But just from a general standpoint, it's far more important when you're eating than what you're eating.
Yes, a lot more important. Got it. Okay. And in between, we got to throw in some,
Absolutely. And that's why we call them little fat bombs, right?
Little fat bombs. All right.
Fat is the molecule that triggers the brain to release the satiety hormones.
Okay.
And so that's why you eat these little fat bombs. But if your insulin is at baseline, the body says, I don't see any food here. So it just goes. So you get the hormones, but you don't get any of the fat.
Right. Okay. Yep.
That's the concept behind them.
Got it. So if anyone is interested and wants to try your product, where can they get it?
FeastFast.co is our main site. We're not quite available on Amazon yet, but that's coming soon.
Cool. Yeah.
But for now, and then if you have any questions, just put them on the FeastFast site, and someone will get back to you.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, this was Jason. This was awesome. I really enjoyed it, man. I learned a lot.
Great. I was glad. Good talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to learning more from you. And always, as I said before, I'm enjoying the product. Maybe right after this, who knows? Maybe I'll slam a whole other bag again. You know, I don't know.
Well, you definitely. Do you like chocolate brownies?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, you really. The first run of our peanut butter flavor, there's something was a little off.
Yeah, you guys upped it, right? You guys changed a little.
Yeah.
Like Josh said.
So yeah, the next version is going to be much more like the original.
Well, I haven't had any of them, as we said earlier. So I haven't had any of the other flavors. So I'll only ever know the new the updated, V2, if it was V2 or whatever, the newest version.
Yeah, well, that's only peanut butter though. The other two, the chocolate chip and the chocolate donut, or no, what? We changed the name.
Yeah, the donut changed to the brownie, right? Yeah.
Yeah, chocolate brownie. Yep. Yeah. They're surprisingly good. I mean, for keto products, I'm still like that's why we decided to go mainstream with them. It's like we never thought, like, you've tasted keto stuff. We never thought we'd come up with something good. That's why we call Marius the food wizard, because I come up with a list of ingredients. I say, okay, here these are safe. What can you do with these? And he just goes in the kitchen and plays wizard, and he's come up with all these crazy concoctions.
Yeah, that's awesome. So cool. That's so cool. All right. Well, I think we're
patent pending.
Oh,
which is always nice.
Hey, you're the patent guy, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome. Well, again, this was awesome and very. I mean, I hope other people got as much out of it as I did. I mean, I feel like I was really taking a lot in and learning here today, so I appreciate it. But yeah, thank you, and look forward to having another convo with you again in the future.
Sounds great, Bill.
All right, Jason Shugart on the Stacks. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Have a good day.
If you want to see more On the Stacks content, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/onthestackspodcast, or search the hashtag On the Stacks on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.